You have an immovable object of possessive obsession, and it's on a collision course with an unstoppable force of independence. The result is a guaranteed blast radius. In 1875, the composer Georges Bizet premiered what would become his masterpiece, the opera Carmen. It is a surgical dissection of exactly this kind of destructive dynamic. The story drops us into 1820s Seville. We meet Don José, a strict, by-the-book brigadier in the military. His life is perfectly mapped out, right down to the wholesome peasant girl from his home village he is expected to marry. Then, Carmen walks into the square. She works in the local cigarette factory, and she operates entirely by her own rules. To provoke the rigid soldier who is actively ignoring her, she casually tosses a flower at his feet. Looking at this page of the original libretto, we see how fast the trap springs. A violent riot breaks out among the factory girls. Carmen is declared the assailant and placed under arrest, and José is ordered to guard her. This section of the score captures her manipulation. She tests his resolve, using her charm and the promise of romance to convince the dutiful soldier to loosen her ropes. And just like that, she escapes into the crowd. José abandons his entire foundational code for a fleeting spark of passion. That single, seemingly small compromise is the error that seals his doom. The immediate consequence is brutal. José is arrested for letting his prisoner slip away, instantly reducing his pristine military record to ashes. He spends a month locked in a cell. Stripped of his duties and isolated from his peers, a dangerous, unrequited obsession with Carmen has time to incubate. When you sacrifice your professional identity and status for a fantasy you haven't even verified, you lose your structural integrity. José is left with absolutely nothing to tether him to reality. The moment he's released, José tracks her down. The stage directions here introduce the tavern of Lilis Pastia, where the two are finally reunited. She immediately pushes him to take the next step, desert the army completely, and join her on the road as a smuggler. At first, his lingering sense of honor prevents him from crossing that line. But the tension shatters when Captain Zuniga arrives at the tavern. The commanding officer orders José to leave, making it clear he intends to pursue Carmen himself. José snaps. He draws his sword and attacks his superior officer. In a matter of seconds, he permanently destroys any chance of returning to mainstream society. By burning his last bridge to a normal life, he forces himself into total dependence. He has tied his entire existence to a woman whose defining trait is her absolute refusal to be owned. Life in the mountains with the smugglers quickly exposes the fatal flaw in their romance. José is desperately possessive, and that directly threatens Carmen's core identity. Reading through the dialogue from this act, her philosophy is stark and uncompromising. She flatly tells him, "I will be free and will do just as I please." Into this volatile mix steps Escamillo, the wildly popular, fearless toreador. He represents the thrilling, unrestricted life Carmen actually desires. The timing couldn't be worse. José receives word that his mother is dying and is forced to temporarily leave the smuggler camp. Carmen is left alone with Escamillo's advances. José believes Carmen owes him for the life he threw away, but a relationship built on a transactional tally of sacrifices is doomed to fail when the other partner values their autonomy above all else. The climax arrives outside the grand bullfighting arena in Seville. Carmen arrives on the arm of her new lover, Escamillo, celebrating his victory. Inside, the crowds are roaring. Outside in the shadows lurks a desperate, ruined Don José, waiting to intercept her. As seen in this tense exchange in the libretto, José begs her to return to him. Carmen flatly refuses. She commands him to let her pass, choosing to face death rather than surrender her independence. Driven completely mad by jealousy and her final rejection, José stabs her in the heart. The stage direction here notes the grim aftermath. He throws himself over her corpse. Carmen endures as a masterclass in fatalistic storytelling because it proves a brutal truth. When the desperate need to possess someone, collides with an absolute refusal to be owned. Mutual destruction is the only possible outcome.